This is Water Elemental,
with Jolly Green.
and today we are talking about Hex, Shards of Fate, sort of.
Not a lot of content updates, but there has been a heck of a lot of drama in the past week.
Yes, if you have not read or if you haven't kept up to date lately, there has been a lawsuit filed against Crytizoic Entertainment and Hex, Shards of Fate by Wizards of the Coast, the creators of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, this is just a case of big kid on the block sees a threat in Hex, and they want to squelch it as soon as they can.
Yes, it's been one of those things that we've been kind of back and forth if we wanted to talk about it, but I feel this is going to be an important milestone in the game, determining whether or not what's going to happen with the beta and what's going to happen with everybody who backed it. So it's something that we want to talk about just out of not memorabilia, like kind of milestone in the history of the game, and since we are trying to kind of chronologically record events, this is the best way to do it.
Well, this lawsuit, I believe this is the best time for it to happen. It's before it's actually released, really has its legs under its feet, and right now I still think that there is enough money in the development pool. I'm sure they have a plan set aside for just this sort of thing, because these guys at Hex, they know that card games are inspired by Wizards and Magic the Gathering. They did not develop this game. They did not develop this game without at least thinking, you know what? There are some similarities here to our game that everybody started out playing and loved. Let's go ahead and make sure that we can at least differentiate it and say put a little money aside for the eventual lawsuit here.
Let's not lie. It has a lot of core features that Magic the Gathering has. A lot of people who haven't played Magic looks at it from the start and they're like, oh, it's a copy of Magic with a different resource system. But those people don't know the deeper core mechanics that are going to be outside of the game itself, which isn't available right now in the PvP beta.
Well, I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer here. I don't know anything about law, but there has not been a lawsuit quite like this in the card game genre, as far as what I've read. And it's going to be basically up to how well the defense can establish that there has been enough changes in a way that makes it look like a different game than Magic the Gathering, and explain it well enough that a jury of layman peers can understand.
Well, not only that, they have to prove that what they are doing is not a direct rip-off of the game, and as well as a direct rip-off of Magic the Gathering Online, which is probably the biggest reason why that there's a lawsuit right now, because that's money being taken away from Magic the Gathering Online, and people will be going to Hex, which will be, when it is finished, a superior version.
I actually read the original transcript of the lawsuit filed by Hasbro, which is the parent company of Wizards of the Coast. Now, I did not know that Wizards was owned by Hasbro, first of all. Kind of disappointing, but whatever, it is what it is. But there's three parts. There is trade dress, which basically says that they were tricking people into buying Hex products under the guise that they were Wizards of the Coast or they were Magic the Gathering. Now that to me is the most silly of all of the three parts, because I don't know anybody that would remotely confuse Hex for Magic the Gathering.
That looks like Magic the Gathering! Even the first 5 seconds of the game when you boot it up has a giant Cryptozoic logo pops up and then goes, Hex, Shards of Fate! Like, it literally does that.
There may be similar mechanics, but they all have different names. There's no way you're going to be like, is that a creature? No, that's a troop. Is it ever referred to as a creature? Nope, not once. They're all referred to as troops. They do very good work when it comes to their consistency, and yeah, but there's no way I would have ever confused Hex for Magic the Gathering. One is definitely inspired by the other, but they're not tricking you into buying their product by, you know, pulling a bait and switch. The second part of this lawsuit is copyright infringement, which relates to their patent that expires here in June. No, that's patent infringement and copy infringement. The patent infringement Wizards of the Coast owns a patent on the game mechanic for tapping a land for mana. Now, as far as I know, there's no such thing as tapping in this game, period. It's all called exhausting.
Which is a mechanic that has been used in several games.
Oh, tons of games.
Versus System and World of Warcraft TCG. Both created by the people
UDE.
at UDE, which is now Cryptozoic.
Yeah. So, that expires in June.
I thought that expired in September.
I've read both accounts, but I've read more that it expires in June than in September. But either way, it's
silly.
It's not valid anyway, because there's no mana, there's no land, there's no such thing as tapping. Now, it's a completely different resource system. Now, the third part is copyright infringement, which basically is saying that this is a direct clone of the game. Now,
this is the iffy one.
Yeah, this is one where I do not personally believe that this is a clone of Magic the Gathering, and here's why. You can socket certain cards. You have a champion that you play that affects the game. There's going to be an entire PvE element of this game that goes into effect. There's entirely different story, entirely different names for certain aspects. The lore is just absolutely different.
There's no traveling from dimension to dimension, which is a core feature of Magic the Gathering. There's no dimension hopping.
It's a feature of the story alone. But the story in Hex is you're on a planet and it gets hit by a giant meteor, and hilarity ensues. That's the most abridged version I can come up with there. But yeah, to say that any card game is a direct offshoot of Magic the Gathering versus it's inspired by Magic the Gathering, everybody knows that it started it. But it's still the biggest, it's the best, it's never been pushed around. It had a couple threats, but they were all
mismanaged.
Yeah. Honestly, I used to play Versus System back in the day, and that was the best card game I've ever played in my entire life. It was challenging. The pro scene was very, very, very good. It was just so much fun to play. It already had a built-in fan base. If you've ever heard of a comic book character, you've heard. you already have at least a mild interest in what this game's about. But Hex doesn't even have a built-in audience, aside from the fact that if you played Magic the Gathering, you can probably adapt yourself to this game very easily.
Now, the people that have found this article and about Hex through all of the articles like on Game Informer, Kotaku, they watch the How to Play video, and that's their only experience with it. And yes, that's all they got from it. They're like, this is Magic the Gathering, only with a different resource system. But that's going to be the biggest downfall, is these people that don't know anything other than that small section. They didn't go to the site, they didn't read up on any of the features, they didn't go to the Kickstarter page on what's going to be planned to be added. They just saw that one section, made their decision, and that's going to be the biggest kind of push away. I've also seen people who saw the lawsuit, came to Hex, were interested in it, and said, I would rather support this game over Wizards of the Coast any day because it looks like fun, and they're trying to innovate.
Yeah, and it's more innovation in a card game than I've ever seen with any other card game, ever. This presents more possibilities for what you can do with this genre than I ever imagined.
Yeah, we have the fact that it will change the card's text permanently. You can change any of the stats permanently. If it's returned to the deck, graveyard, removed from the game, anything like that, and then is brought back, boom, everything is remembered and brought back in. Tokens can be permanently created. It's stuff like that that is like, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's a digital-only concept. If you wanted to put Hex cards on paper and adapt a lot of these mechanics to a tabletop environment, you just couldn't do it. That it would be too time-consuming to figure out a randomization system. I mean, you'd be going beyond D&D for randomization algorithms. It's just not possible. And that's the biggest thing I believe that Hex brings, is the features that you can only use in a digital environment. And that's what is kind of slowing down Wizards of the Coast, because if they want to truly innovate with certain game styles like that and different concepts, then they have to move away from cardboard, and that's just not going to happen with them.
Yeah, right now the biggest innovation they've had is merging two types of cards together, their enchantments and their creatures, turning them to creature enchantments or creature artifacts. And they're at the point now where they've run out of possibilities with how to word a card and how to make a mechanic interesting after, 15 years or so of Magic, that they've kind of ran out of their options, where Hex is like, we have a new venue we can do. If we can think of it and we are able to make it fun and interesting, we can program that in and we can make the computer do it.
Yeah, the only complication is actually being able to write the code. But I think they're just far and away different games, because I've played both. I played Magic the Gathering for 15 years of my life. And I've only played Hex since Alpha, but I'm already in love with what it can bring to the genre.
And I like the community a lot more.
Oh, heck yeah.
The Magic the Gathering community are a bunch of dicks.
Well,
I'm not going to sugarcoat
it. I think you should sugarcoat it, because unfortunately a few rotten apples do spoil the bunch a lot of the time. And there is a certain group of rotten apples that, I mean, you and I have both experienced, that make certain events, venues, tournaments unpleasant to go to, because you would have to interact with these kinds of people. Now, I wouldn't want to say that necessarily is a benefit of Hex, where you don't really have to interact face-to-face with anybody that you play with or in a guild with, but I don't know, it's safer.
I've never had an experience in Hex where I've wanted to jump through the computer and strangle someone, but I've had so many experiences being at a pro tournament or just a casual tournament where the guy is just so arrogant and so, it's just those type of people that you don't have a metagame deck, or you don't have a deck that is standard, or something like that, and they just berate you the whole time. Do you remember that one tournament we went to up in Fort Collins, that there was that one guy that, because we didn't have 100% completed decks, they just started berating us and berating us and berating us and berating us. It's like,
yeah, and I ended up taking fourth in that tournament anyway.
And it was just like, are you serious? I'm here just to have fun. We didn't expect to come play. Well, your deck needs this card, this card, and this card to be good. It's like, I just built this deck last night just for fun.
I know. Like I said, a few rotten apples. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of rotten apples in Hex as well, but their ability to get in your head while you're playing them is going to be far diminished, because you don't have to sit across the table from them. Your body language, their body language, it has no effect on the game. And
you can minimize chat so you don't have to read them.
Oh, not to mention cheating.
Yes!
It's kind of like not a thing, unless you're exploiting a part of the game, which can easily be fixed. I don't understand how you could possibly cheat in this game without blatantly hacking the damn game.
And even so, you will be caught.
Yeah, and punished accordingly. I mean, I've already seen people punished for exploiting things in the beta. So they're taking it seriously here over in Cryptozoic.
Yeah, because they know that once the game hits a certain point, there's going to be cash tournaments, there's going to be events, there's going to be, so many different things that they're going to try to do and expand and give essentially the community power. And that's something that I like. In Magic, you don't have power very often in any sort of like events. Yeah, if you win a World Series or something like that, you get your face on a card and you can vote on what you'd like to see. But in Hex, the community can be like, we like to see more of like the Shinhair. Can we see more Shinhair? And then next week on like a Facebook page, they gave you a whole lore of Shinhair, or they support the community and they want the community to be involved as much as possible, because they know that is the ground force.
Well, I believe that Wizards kind of has gotten away from giving the community what it wants, because there's been just crappy set after crappy set after crappy set, and I was tired of it. I stopped. I can't deal with.
I think it was after we bought a lot of what was it?
Dark
Ascension, and it was the worst set I've seen since.
Yeah. Okay. So we decided that we wanted to get back into the game, and right around Innistrad block, the beginning of Innistrad block, there were so many good cards in Innistrad, so many good
and
cards.
Ideas.
We're like, oh, great concepts, and then we're like, okay, well let's get back into this full time. So we went in on a case, me and a couple other people, and opened up the boxes and discovered that the value inside Dark Ascension was just garbage. There was no real big money card in the set. I mean, I wasn't buying the boxes so that I could resell the singles or anything, but you want at least a little bit of return value on your investment. Holy crap, there was nothing.
There was one card that was worth some value and play value, but everything else was there was nothing worth playing. There was not enough of it to continue us to buy those sets, anything to build decks out of, and the worst part was all the mechanics that they were building up to for the third set were gone. Like all of the tribals, all of the mechanics, all the kind of themes that they went for. They're like, so there's going to be vampires, there's going to be all this stuff. There was gone in the third set of the block. They were just gone. So there was no use building any decks around any of those mechanics because angels. There was just angels. And that was it.
It's really disappointing. So, and that was the last straw. I came back, I was all excited, and then they just swept the rug out from under my feet. And I mean, that happens. But it's happened to me so many times with Magic the Gathering, where I get so excited about a concept and then they just shit all over it.
It happened twice with Ravnica. We were so excited for Ravnica, and then the things leading up to Ravnica pissed us off so much that we couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah. Anyway, that was just a long tirade. Obviously, we're a little bit biased towards Hex here. I mean, yeah, and our opinion is...
Our opinion.
Likely worth nothing in the eyes of the law or any layman that would ever end up on that jury, but...
It's like we're a wine enthusiast, you know? If you want someone who has been around and played a lot of games and has seen a lot of different venues and ways to play the game, stuff like that, you know, that's our opinion about it. We are connoisseurs of card games, and we feel that this is being mistreated and deserves a little bit more respect from the community.
Well, and when it comes down to it, I really think that this is just...
bully tactics.
It's Wizards swinging their dick around trying to see... trying to see if they can get Hex to fold here. I don't think they will.
But, speaking of a response to that, we got a very heartfelt response from Corey Hudson-Jones, and I kind of want to read a bit of it so you guys can understand how they feel. And it says... To our family of Hex supporters, I have been chasing a dream for the last 3 years. A dream to produce an innovative trading card game, a game that combines the strategy of a TCG with the community and progression of an MMO. Something amazing and new, something you would love. We presented that dream to you, our community, and you responded with such mind-blowing support to help us launch Hex. Sadly, the potential of that invention has driven Wizards of the Coast to file a merciless lawsuit in the attempt to kill a competitor before it delivers on that promise. Hex has a chance to give gamers a better and completely different experience from a digitally only TCG than a paper TCG can. Sometimes being small and independent makes you seem like an easy target to bullies, and that's not an easy place to be, but rest assured we are ready to defend that dream. And then he goes on to say, I will not allow the dream we share as a community to be crushed. You believe in me, made a Kickstarter an amazing success, and stuck by us as we slogged through the alpha client. It is unfortunate that this hurdle has been thrust upon us, but we prevail. We have come too far to let this dream die now. And that right now gives us hope.
Yeah, that he's just seems like a stand-up guy to me. Like, he's putting the community first, at least appearance-wise, and I don't know, I'm behind him.
I'm behind him too. If there's any way that us as a community are able to support this, I think I will pitch in, because I'm already deep in this, and I don't want to see another game be thrown out, not because it's bad, but because other people have forced it out of the market.
Ugh. And I know it's an unlikely possibility, but if Wizards ends up buying it...
No, I am not playing Magic the Gathering online. I can't.
No. Will not do it. No, I want something fresh, I want something new, I want an environment that breeds creativity and supports its community. And Wizards doesn't have that, in my opinion, anymore.
No.
It did. It had a golden age, and it's over. It's time for something else to step up and shine, and Hex is it.
But that's our opinion on this, guys. We wanted to bring this up and kind of give our opinions about the whole situation. We are not lawyers. This is just... I have to state that enough if this ever is like thrown into a court somewhere. But this website... No, we're not lawyers. And we want to know your opinion on this. It's probably not going to be the same as ours. It might share some, ideas and stuff like that. But that's how we feel, and we kind of want to document this in our eyes as players seeing something happen that we've tried to support.
Oh yeah, by the way, Total Biscuit's on the same opinion as we are, so there's that. Yeah, TB.
Hashtag TB, hashtag watch us TB.
Put that in the tag, boy.
No, I'm not a leech.
No. Anyway, this has been Jolly Green.
And Water Elemental.
Take
See
care.
when we have an actual update.
Oh yeah.